Frequently reclusive billionaire Bill Gates has taken to talking up a storm and dishing devilish details ahead of the release of his new book, which is called Source Code. In a sit-down with the Wall Street Journal editor-in-chief Emma Tucker, Gates explained what a recent 3-hour conversation with President Donald Trump was about. Let's watch.
Have you met Donald Trump since the election?
Yeah, I had a chance to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him. It was quite wide-ranging. You know, global health's the area that I work in, and such amazing things have happened and can happen there. I spoke a lot about HIV and that the foundation's literally working on a cure for that. We're at an early stage, and so he, in the COVID days, accelerated the vaccine innovation. So I, was asking him if maybe the same kind of thing could be done here. I felt like he was, energized and, looking forward to helping to drive innovation. I was frankly impressed.
Gates, of course, was also grilled about his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what he said.
Well, Jeffrey, in retrospect, I was foolish to spend any time with him, and he sort of got time with various people by spending time with other people. So yes, I think I was quite stupid. I thought it would help me with global health philanthropy. In fact, it failed to do that, and it was just a huge mistake.
Has it made you more wary of connections?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And here is what Gates had to say when he was asked, would he or would he not be involved with the Department of Government Efficiency, or what he would do, what he thinks it should do. Let's watch.
I'm amongst the people who think the deficit needs to be brought down, because otherwise it will create a financial problem for us. And so, that effort could come up with some good things. I'm not, trying to talk about European politicians like he is. So some of that surprises me a bit. But wow, he finds time to do a lot of things. They'll have to look at everything, including pension, defense, healthcare. My view is most departments, there probably are, 10 to 15%. I do worry a little bit that if you say, hey, let's completely get rid of things, some of the things that have long-term benefits, I obviously believe in HIV medicines where the U.S. is keeping tens of millions of people alive.
Gates also told the British newspaper The Times what he thinks about Elon Musk's foray into politics. He said Musk's embrace of far-right politicians and attempts to interfere in the politics of other countries, including the UK, is insane, S-H-I-T. You want to promote the right wing but say Nigel Farage is not right-wing enough? I mean, that's insane. You are for the AFD. Of course, many critics of Bill Gates, Marianne, would say that he has been meddling in all sorts of world government or global international organizations, trying to get policies related to health that I know a lot of people are skeptical about, whether that is just enriching his own pharmaceutical interests. But what I actually heard from him there was more of sounding a similar note to all these other tech-related wealthy people wanting to get in line with Trump rather than be opposed to him.
Well, Elon Musk is actually going to Germany and telling people that they should vote for the far right-wing party. He's actually saying that King Charles should dissolve Parliament. He's weighing in on far more than policy.
Well, he's allowed to do that. He's just using his
nobody's
speech
saying
rights.
what he's not allowed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about whether or not we agree with him doing it. I think when that kind of influence is exerted by, ostensibly the richest man in the world, I think that that's very dangerous.
But have George Soros type people not been exerting that same level of influence?
George Soros and others give their money to the projects that they believe in. That's very different to me than weighing in, telling governments, telling the German people, this is what you should do. But that's just my opinion. As far as the efficiency issue, I find it very concerning when Bill Gates was talking about the deficit and it's so high. I'll tell you what's going to add to the deficit is the extension of that $4 trillion tax cut. Now, with that tax cut, 83 cents of every dollar goes to the very richest corporations and individuals. Then you have Doge saying, well, they said we were going to cut $2 trillion. This is why we should be so supportive of this. We're going to cut $2 trillion. Then he says, now, well, you know, we need to lower our expectations, Musk says. Maybe we'll get rid of $1 trillion. Meanwhile, it's all a cover.
$1 trillion, I would take it. I don't even think they'll do that.
But then look at what this is about. It's all a cover, Robby, for the fact that they want to extend those $4 trillion tax cuts.
Well, I want to have tax. We got to do both. We got to cut tax. I want us to cut taxes, and I want us to dramatically reduce spending.
Who do you want to cut taxes for?
Everyone. I don't want
even
anyone
the very,
to pay
very,
taxes.
very rich. And tell me the
Everyone.
value to our society for cutting taxes to people who are in the top 0.001%. What is the value to society?
What is the value from confiscating their mony and giving it to the government?
Oh,
That's
I
what
see.
I
Okay.
see. I want people to keep more of what they earn, and I want to unleash the potential of American business. It's not about, you know, making sure the richest people can keep more of their money. I don't care about that, but it's their money. I don't particularly want to take it. My bigger issue is making sure that the American entrepreneurial, innovative spirit is not held back by the administrative state and all of these regulations we have that end up helping and protecting the big, powerful people, because the guys who want to challenge them and create market competition can't get started because the regulations are so punitive. And the regulations have been written by the powerful people to keep those people out of power.
Okay, great narrative, but let's talk about what actually happens. That's the kind of they're the job creator people narrative.
I mean, it is true.
But their no, because their business model in those situations is less job creation and more job elimination, more demonization, suppression of workers. If you do not allow more people to share in the resources, then you are not promoting entrepreneurism. That kind of corporatism becomes monopolistic, and it actually makes it more difficult for the small business person. We've got the American dream is that anybody should have a shot, not just a few. So this situation of more and more money going to the very few up at the top is not unleashing the entrepreneurial spirit. It's actually suppressing the entrepreneurial spirit among too many people who are shackled by the economic conditions that keep them from getting in the game.
I don't care about reducing the people at the top to make sure they're doing as pitifully as everyone else. I want to have everybody else have more opportunity to rise and also to meaningfully improve their standing. It's not, for me, it's not about solving inequality. I don't care if there's inequality. I just care if the baseline conditions are good for the people there.
I agree with that.
If we're all equally depressed, that's not good. Nobody wants that.
Don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm not saying that, but that's what you end up getting under a Soviet system or under a command and control, top-down economic
situation. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have millions of American children, as we have today, who go to schools where they don't even have the adequate resources to teach a child to read, and a child who cannot learn to read by the age of 10 has a drastically decreased chance of high school graduation, a drastically increased chance of incarceration.
But that's not a lack of funding problem. We spend so much money on our schools. We spend more every year. You're right that we don't improve our reading and math scores, but it's not from lack of funding. So this is my point. Something else must be, this is kind of the theme of the conversations we're having today. Something is fundamentally broken about how we're doing things, because I have to concede, we spend a ton of money on education, on healthcare, on all sorts of categories, and it still sucks. And that's so frustrating to people.
We have had, over the last 50 years, a $50 trillion transfer of wealth out of the hands of the bottom 90% of Americans into the hands of 1%, Robby. We used to have a thriving middle class. When the taxes were much higher for the wealthy in this country, we had a thriving middle class. In the 1970s, the average American couple could afford a house, could afford a yearly vacation, could afford a car.
Go ahead.
Could afford to send their kids to college.
Well, we have more cars per person per family now. The houses are bigger now. There's more. I think there's a little too much idealizing of the past that goes in.
There are young people in this country who aren't even looking for a big house. They just, even the dream of home ownership, period. There has been such a withdrawal of our resources from the public sphere, so that this private sphere, which is where, listen, if you're in the club in America, Robby, that's great, and there is no place better. I've been fortunate. I understand the high side of the free market. I've sold some books. I've understood it. But I also understand that it's an issue of conscience and ethics. You should not want to create wealth at the expense of other people having a chance to. And that is what has happened, and that is wrong, and that is immoral, and we have to bring American capitalism and American government back into line with what the essential function of government is, according to the Declaration of Independence, to secure the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for as many Americans, hopefully to expand the franchise to all Americans in time. That's our mission, that's our purpose, not only politically, but spiritually and morally.
Well, we are pursuing happiness today, but that does it for us on Rising. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure being joined by Marianne Williamson. Thank you so much.
Great being with you, Robby.
Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any of our content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you can find podcasts. See you tomorrow.